Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of leaders, welcome to Tatami Talk. My name is Juan. This is my Chikomi partner, Anthony. It's a judo podcast for judo players by two judo players. So, Anthony.
No, so Juan, I'm going to ask you this first. How are you doing?
Happy holidays. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas. How was your New Year's?
My New Year's was spent helping my parents set up their bed. I just helped them move here. So they've been sleeping on my air mattress, and they bought a bed, and I had to go set it up and set up their curtains and clean the house. Yeah.
At their house, or did you put them in your garage? At
their house. Yeah. So
Okay.
my New Year's was spent doing that, and that's it. It's very uneventful.
I had a very my New Year's tradition is very Japanese, I guess. I stay up all night. I watch MMA, but it's actually funny because I stay up the night before to watch MMA because Japan's a day ahead of us.
They do that Rizin New Year thing, right?
Yep.
I still remember the first time I watched it, the CEO came out and like ripped off his suit. And like,
he ripped his suit. He's just wearing his like Japanese loincloth and banging on the drum. I'm just like,
on the drum, yeah. And I'm like, imagine Dana White doing that at UFC. But
he got some thong on, banging on a drum.
He used to be an MMA fighter too, right? If I remember,
yeah,
like K1 or something like that.
He was a pro wrestler / shoot fighter / catch wrestler. He's one of those guys that when Pride first came around, or when Pride was being built, was like, hey, I'm going to prove that Japanese catch and Japanese submissions is real. And he had an okay record. Some questionable fights, if you know what I mean.
Yep. Well, I like those Japanese promotions. They do a really good job finding pairing the fights and stuff. And
yeah, there's
the only problem is they don't check for steroids. Really.
Well, what can you do? Be legit? Crazy. No, but they have fun fights
for
and stuff.
Entertainment. Yeah.
Yeah, they have fun fights, some freak show fights. They have some legit fights there. You know, so I always watch, that's my New Year's thing. I watched that the night before. And then the New Year's night, I tend to watch Gaki no Suka with my wife.
Oh, yeah. Did you watch it this year? I didn't watch last year.
I couldn't find this year, so we just ended up rewatching last year's. And the channel that used to show the Japanese red and white show got bought out a couple years ago. And they used to continue showing. Yeah. They used to at least show that every year, but the past 2 years they stopped showing it. So
I didn't watch it last year because so usually I wait for them to translate it. I don't watch the raw footage, but I didn't watch it because there was some blackface controversy.
Oh, that was like 2 years ago.
Yeah,
that was 2 years ago.
I guess they have 2 years to catch up on, but I need to go back and watch it. But I like Rizin because Tenshin Nasukawa was fighting in it. The guy who fought Floyd Mayweather. Yeah, no, they had that. He's considered like the genius, like the prodigy, the new and upcoming best kickboxer, basically. And his striking is insane. Have you watched him fight? Yeah, I watched him fight. I want to watch it. It's one of my things. Like, I love Rizin, but you can totally see. It's just like any promotion. There's going to have their baby dolls or guys that they want to promote, the guys they want to build up, and you kind of see them have a little bit of like easy fight. I don't want to say can crushing exactly, but guys that they know. He's had a few legit ones, but like lately, I'm just like, oh, now that he's gotten a name, like they're like giving him a lot of easy fights. Definitely. Yeah. So at the end of this fight, of course, he won by decision, I think it was. But they brought out this K1 Max champion, and they're like, oh, this might be the next fight in March that they're going to have. And it's like, well, if it's a good fight, I hope they do, you know? Yeah. I want people to get challenged. I want them to show like legit Japanese martial arts and legit kickboxing, really good kickboxing. Yeah. I would love to see him go to Glory and fight in their I want to see him fight better people, definitely. Yeah. Or at least, it's really good. Rizin is supposed to have the negotiation or team up with Bellator, and Bellator does have a kickboxing division. Yep. So maybe go fight there. I don't really like kickboxing rules though. I like Muay Thai rules. Like the no elbow thing, and then like the lack of clinching. See, people don't appreciate clinches enough in Muay Thai. That is like what Muay Thai, like clinching is the equivalent of like grip fighting in judo, right? It's a totally separate art in itself, almost. It is its own art, but it can get boring sometimes because some people just hold it for a while and they're not throwing knees, they're not trying to throw elbows. It's boring if you don't understand it. Like I took my girlfriend, she asked me about clinching one time, and I have a mat in the garage. Yeah. So I showed her like this is what it feels like. You just clinched your wife and were just throwing her around. I was. She was like, oh, they're just like
holding on to each other. I'm like, no, they're like having a battle right now. And I showed her like what it feels like to shift around and how they're trying to like exploit each other's like off balancing. And
then you give her an ashiwaza and threw her on the floor.
No, I actually did throw her on the floor, but it was with a sasai basically. But
okay.
Yeah. Well, I guess that is. Yeah. Okay. But anyway, did you watch the Gabby Garcia versus grandmother fight? That's on
the one like 2 years ago or a year
just
ago.
Just fighting like a 50-year-old grandmother.
Yeah, the 50-year-old old pro wrestler lady.
Yeah, she actually is a grandma because she has a grandkid. But yeah.
Oh my God, those fights were terrible. It's like I don't know why they try. I know it's gonna be hard. Like Gabby Garcia she's a big, huge, muscular woman. She's like the size of a man. She's a big girl.
I think she's my height and weight.
Yeah, she's like legit 200 pounds. You know, she's like legit 2 something. Like it's gonna be hard to find her a fight anywhere. So like just getting someone to be like, hey, you want to fight this monster right here, this beast of a person? It's like, all right, I'm getting paid, right? It's like there's an old pro wrestler saying called "Pin me, pay me." Mm-hmm.
I know she's a BJJ black belt. I'm probably gonna get a lot of shit for this, but when I watch her BJJ matches, it seems very size dominant. It's like it doesn't look as fluid.
It's just a genetic thing. She's a big woman. There's nothing she can do about it. I'm not saying like she's like a hefty woman. I think she's a tall, muscular woman. There's nothing she can do about that unless she's going to go anorexic. What do you want her to do?
Yeah, I'm not doubting she's not on the black belt level, but how much I'm just thinking like in terms of technique, like since I'm not very familiar with BJJ. So I'm just wondering in terms of technique, whether she's actually at that level or whether she's just like a beginner black belt kind of thing. So,
yeah. I somewhat met her at it was a Chael Sonnen Tito fight here in LA. And I was outside my friend walking around, like, I don't know what we were doing, just walking or something. Oh no, he went for a cigarette break and I just went from outside to get some fresh air. And she walked by and I was like just this mammoth woman is like, that Gabby Garcia, I think it's Gabby Garcia. And I turned around and I was like, hey Gabby. And I turned and looked away.
My friends watched her fight to win in Austin.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it's very interesting.
All right, so that was our New Year's and stuff, watching MMA, watching kickboxing, watching martial arts. And if you're interested in watching the Rizin matches, they posted all the fights on their YouTube channel. So if you don't want to be like an idiot like me and stay up till 6 a.m. to watch all the fights, you just watch them the next day on the YouTube channel or a few days later, whatever it was, because it's there today. So maybe they put it up last night. So talking about grappling and what we talked about last time with Submission Underground, the Chael Sonnen submission fighting organization that's supposed to be open rules for any style of grappling wants to go inside there and challenge themselves. Ishii was going to challenge Fowler. What's his name? Fowler for their open weight championship. Of course. So they had the match. They went into like triple overtime or something. Mm-hmm. And I think it's the whole thing where they did the thing where
you pick this overtime position. Yeah,
they go to this position. Ishii was choosing armbar position. Fowler was choosing the
back behind
seatbelt direct. And they're doing that. At the last one, their last overtime, Fowler decided to go from the armbar position and he armbarred Ishii. I know some people online were trying to say that was a foot lock. It could have been a heel lock. To me, it looked like an armbar. It could have, like the way he had the leg and the way he had the arm, I guess could have gone either way. But the interesting thing to me is that when the match started, he didn't stand with him. He didn't try to do anything with him standing. Immediately, they came in the middle.
They let him sit, not even pull guard, just sit guard.
Yeah, he just sat in guard. They went in the middle. They barely touched, and then he sat on his butt. And I was like, oh, come on.
It's like quintet. When 10th Planet goes to do a quintet.
Yeah, I was so upset. And one of my Japanese friends telling me like, well, what'd you expect? Ishii's a really good thrower. He's not really known for his newaza. But I was thinking, Ishii, he got a brown belt under the Gracies right after the Olympics, right? Mm-hmm. He got a brown belt underneath them when he started doing MMA.
Yeah, I think so. Something like that.
Now, let me hang in there, Anthony. All right.
I don't know. I thought you were telling me a fact.
No, I believe it. I know he had a brown belt right after he got the Olympics, started getting MMA. He got a brown belt. I think it was under the Gracies. It could have been in the Machados. I'm not 100% sure. I should have checked it beforehand. But I do know that last year he did get his black belt in BJJ. Mm-hmm. Now, who he got it under or how he got it, I don't know because he lives in Croatia now and he trains with Mirko Krokop. You know, he doesn't train in Japan. He doesn't live in Japan. Doesn't live in the U.S. no more. Or train out here that much. He lives with Krokop over there, and they train together. But I do know he has black belt. So I was expecting a little bit more in the match. In the match, he showed dominance. He was controlling him on the ground. He was in half guard, in full guard and stuff, holding him. They really couldn't do anything. But after the 4 minutes, they went into the overtime. And that's when they go into positions. Mm-hmm. But like I give it to Fowler because like, do you really gonna get thrown by Ishii? Do you? It's like think about it.
What was the floor material? That's
it looks like just a UFC mat. It looks just
okay. Like so UFC it's a board. Ring. It's not like tatami. Like
no, it's not tatami. It's probably just an MMA ring. I don't know how to describe
those
it.
MMA rings are pretty soft from what I heard. Like
when I fought MMA.
You just have tatami on hardwood floor. They're pretty freaking hard. Even if you throw someone on it.
Yeah, and they're kind of cushiony too, because when I would throw people, I'd throw them pretty hard and they would still be fighting. But what can you do? So that was kind of interesting. So he went into triple overtime with them, finally tapped him out. But I was expecting more from Ishii. You know, he got his black belt. I was hoping to see more out of it. Mm-hmm. The interesting to me is that same night, Ryan Bader, Bellator fighter, former UFC fighter, Bellator heavyweight champion right now, fought Rumble Johnson. Okay. Mm-hmm. And they're both wrestlers. And when they fought each other, they're standing up the entire time, the entire 4 minutes. It was all stand up, trying to wrestle each other down. Bader took Rumble down, held him there, but they went to overtime too. And they went to overtime time. And whoever had the most control or the least control, however that works.
Yeah, I think it's based on time. They time it, right?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
So Bader won that match. The thing that makes that interesting to me is that so Bader won that match. So this last weekend when they had Submission Underground 20, Bader fought for the open weight title. So Bader and Fowler fought. Fowler stood with Bader. He submitted Bader with what did he submit him with? Wakijajime. That was kind of cool actually seeing that. So he submitted him with Wakijajime, which was awesome to see that actually done to somebody, because people are always like, oh, no-gi, it doesn't work. It doesn't work in no-gi. It's impossible. He did it. And I thought it was going to break Bader's arm. It looked bad. I was like, holy shit. It's like it was a snap. So he stood with Bader. They went down to the ground. But it's like he wasn't scared of Ryan Bader's takedowns or throws or anything, that he would stand with Bader. But Ishii is like, I don't want none of that. As soon as I get in the middle of the ring, I'm sitting my butt. You have to come down here with me. So that was kind of interesting. The sad thing, another sad thing is that Ishii fought on 20 as well. Mm-hmm. He fought against what's his name? Greg Johnson, and Ishii lost. They went down to the ground.
So he fought 2 matches on the night.
It wasn't in one night. They were like a week apart, like 2 weeks apart or something. A week or 2 weeks apart. Because we did our episode like right after that happened, or we did it right before it happened, and now this episode's pretty much right after that one happened. So 2 weeks apart. But yeah, so Ishii fought a second time. The guys that Johnson guy, he's a really good grappler. Yeah. They went down the ground and he submitted Ishii with a rear naked choke in 3 minutes. Yeah, 3 minutes. I wrote down my notes.
Wow.
Yeah, so I was expecting more from Ishii. I'm trying to hope more, but he is making us look bad in judo.
Well, you say he's a black belt, but maybe he just trains mostly in gi?
He could be. But the thing is that Ishii's a great thrower. And it's one of those things like one of my Japanese
the rules don't allow you to throw him, so...
Yeah. Well, you don't force the guy up. But one of my Japanese friends saying, well, what do you expect? Ishii wasn't a big Newaza guy. He wasn't great at Newaza. He was known for his throws. And my argument was, but he just got his BJJ black belt. Like he just got his I was expecting more out of him. Okay. But in that first fight, when he had it for the open weight title, he looked tired. That when he went to overtime, he looked like he was drained already. Like he would look like he was just like, oh
COVID
God.
Conditioning.
Seriously.
Do you think so at least in points in non-submission only tournaments, you can be like, if you set guard, this automatically lose like 4 points or something like that, right?
Is it? I don't.
No, I'm saying at least you have that solution. If you decide, a lot of people actually suggest that, like, oh, in tournaments, if you pull guard, if you set guard, you should just like automatically lose like 2 to 3 points or something. So at least you have that solution possible. But what do you think in a submission only tournament you can do about stopping people from doing just sitting down on their ass and butt scooting?
You would have to do the thing that you're supposed to do at Sakuraba's thing, where you're supposed to start standing and not pull guard.
They don't enforce it.
That's the thing. I know that's the thing though. In Sakuraba, they say it. They say you can't pull guard. They say you can't start on your butt scooting, but no ref enforces it. No ref is like stand up, or no ref sees that and says, oh, get back up. You need a referee or judges or whoever's doing it to immediately, you got to get back up. You can't pull this. You got to get back up. It's just that it's about the rules being enforced strictly by the judges, by the refs, that if they do that, you got to stand back up. You can't be like, oh, okay, I'm just let it go now. You can't. You can't. It's just like in MMA when people get like a groin shot or an eye poke. A guy gets eye poked in the eye 5 times. Yeah. You finally take a point away.
It's a warning. Yeah.
You get 2 or 3 warnings.
Blinded already.
Yeah. His eyes hanging outside of his head already, like on the floor, dingling around. Like, oh, I'm gonna take a point now.
God, I hate some of the rule enforcement in MMA, but anyway.
That's the same with anything, man. Yeah, it's the judges need to enforce the rules, and some of the judges need to let the rules go. It's really hard to walk that line. So from there, kind of want to go into throwing in nogi situations.
Should we bring up the read the question?
Yeah, read the question. Oh, yeah. We had a great question this week.
On our last episode, there's Ronaldo asked a question in the comment section. So can you guys touch on the nogi application of judo? Of everything I've seen, only one guy dedicates any time to nogi judo, Samson Judo. He has a YouTube channel, by the way. Pretty good stuff. But he mostly teaches judo newaza. My question is, what about nogi tachiwaza? Will it look like wrestling, or is the judo approach going to make the application stand out as uniquely judo? How many techniques will we be able to adapt? Will those techniques lose some of their effectiveness, etc.?
Well, in my opinion, you could do almost every throw in judo without a gi. The thing is just that when most people go from doing gi judo to no gi judo, they immediately go into the collar and wrist holding. What I mean is that they'll grab the back of the head, back of the collar, like you're almost doing like an oguri grip or over the top grip, grabbing the collar high. They'll grab over their neck and they'll go for wrist control. So they'll grab with the other hand, instead of grabbing the elbow, they'll grab the wrist. And from that position, that is, in my opinion, as someone that does a lot of no-gi throws and other styles, and take my judo take my judo that I do into no-gi situations, that is one of the worst ways to throw somebody, because you don't have good control.
Yep.
Because when I bring my head around, or my arm around someone's head, when they're dry, it's fine. But once you get tired, once you get slippery, once you get sweaty, they're going to slip off. Yep. My opinion, the ultimate grip to do judo throws in a no-gi situation is an under-over. And what I mean is one underhook under the arm, one overhook grabbing over at the elbow really high and tight. And when I do any throws, like when I do haragoshi, taitoshi, hanagoshi, uchimata.
Oh, so you're saying the overhook is better than the wrist grip?
Yes. Because there are certain throws, like there's I'll explain it in a little bit, but for most of those throws right there, those big impact throws, one underhook underneath the elbow, grabbing underneath the armpit, grabbing really high, or grabbing all the way around the back if you can, but don't worry, just grab underneath the elbow. Underneath the armpit, under the armpit, and you get really tight over on top of the elbow on the other side, and over grip. You can throw anybody with that throw.
So why do you think that's more powerful than the wrist?
To me, it's because you're holding on to something. And when I have the over grip, the overhook over the elbow high, like almost on the bicep, if it does slip out, it's going to slip all the way down to the wrist. It's just going to get tighter to come down. Okay. But if I start off grabbing my wrist, just grabbing like a monkey grip, whatever people want to use, grabbing the wrist, that might slip off, and that's very hard to do.
I always thought, I think the rules dictate a lot of this, because you'll see in judo, like the sleeve grip usually is to complete the rotation, so you get the score by someone landing on their back. Because if you don't have that sleeve grip, most of the time people are either going to post, or they're going to you're not going to have the control to fully rotate the body to throw someone on the back, so they'll land in front or on the side. Because honestly, a lot of, especially with Shohei Ono doing it now, a lot of people like that under the armpit grip instead of the sleeve grip, because it's much easier to get, and it also can be used defensively, versus when you grab the sleeve, it's not as good defensively as grabbing an armpit. But the trade-off is that you might not get the full score, right? So,
well, you have to. That's the thing. You have to adapt your style to it. You have to readjust your throw into doing a bigger over the top throw. And you still have to put that, when you have your over grip over on the elbow on the other side, you're still pulling that underneath. You're still pulling.
So I guess what I was trying to ask is, you think that that grip is stronger for throwing someone, but does that include throwing someone on their back, or are you just like trying to take them down no matter what, and then transition to like MMA rules from there?
I think it's good to throw them on the back.
Okay.
For me, it shows even more control because I'm landing more on them when I flatten out that way.
So if that's the case, why don't we see more of that in judo? Why is the sleeve?
Well, this is the thing. This is a heavyweight style throw anyways. I'm talking like this is more like you would see heavyweights do this all the time. You don't see lighter weights do it because they can do better throws using the gi. But when you see some of the heavyweights throw, they go for these underside grips sometimes. Mm-hmm. And if you have the gi and you have something to hold on to, use it. Use your weapons. Use the material.
Yeah.
The only time I would suggest or I would use a wrist grabbing technique, so I'm grabbing the wrist instead of grabbing an overhook on the bicep, is if I'm doing a wizard throw, like in wrestling. So instead of doing an underhook, I have an overhook. Mm-hmm. And you see this in MMA all the time. I've seen some submission matches where a guy will have an overhook and he's trying to do his wizard throw. And it looks like he's doing a Taitoshi or bat haragoshi or something. That's funny
because DC, when someone did an Uchimata in a UFC match, DC just called it the wizard throw.
Yeah. Because that's what he knows. He doesn't know judo. He might have seen it. Or
but you said it looks like a Taitoshi. So I'm like,
that's what I'm saying. That's what it looks like to me. As a judo guy now, it was like, it's much easier to do Taitoshi than just a muscle in a wizard throw. You're just trying to hip a guy over. So I have the overhook on a guy. Okay. I'm in the wizard position and I'm trying to throw him just with my leg and my hip. His arm is still out there. He can block with the arm. He can post out with that arm and stuff. That's when I would go across and grab the wrist and go in for my Taitoshi, Uchimata, Haragoshi from that position. Because now I have an overhook and his body's coming in a different direction. So if I can't grab the other arm with an overhook on that side, because I have like double overhooks then, which you can do as well. So you have the wizard on one side, grab that wrist and you use that just like in judo. Just like when we teach people to do Uchimata, pull the arm to finish the throw. You pull the arm over so they land on their back. It's the same thing with wizard throw if you grab the wrist.
So, I mean, with that said, for us that watch a lot of MMA, like actually in no-gi in terms of throws, not like single legs or double legs, but in terms of throws, the highest percentage usage ones and success rate are usually koshiguruma, haragoshi, ashiguruma, and in some cases, I think I saw a lot of sasai too.
Well, so you also see a lot of people. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Anthony. I want to interrupt you.
No, go ahead.
Well, you also see a lot of attempts at haragoshi. Mm-hmm. Everyone wants to do haragoshi, or they end up trying to do a bad uchimata.
Yeah,
because they don't know what they're doing. They're like, kick that leg up. I know that judo guy said kick that leg up. The thing with haragoshi is that the way that they're taught properly. It's just they're not, in my opinion, it's the way that I like to do it. It's the way if anyone trains with me, they know how I like it. I like coming in for haragoshi really low. Yep. Like my ankle starts off at your ankle. That way, as it comes up, it locks in on your knee, and then I flip you over. A lot of people teach that throw immediately starting at the knee. And that's the proper way to teach it. That is actually the proper technique. That is how it's supposed to be done. That is how it's showed at the Kodokan and everything. I get it. But if you don't know that throw, and if you're not used to it and you're practicing all the time, if you go to hit the knee and lock on the knee, your leg's going to swing up and you're going to be end up on their hips. And that's what you end up seeing a lot of time in MMA and some of these BJJ schools or catch wrestling schools. They'll do it and it end up looking like, what's that leg?
Oguruma.
It looks like oguruma. It turns into oguruma, and if you don't know how to transfer in oguruma and know how to do it correctly, you're screwed. You're like, judo sucks. It didn't work. It's BS.
Just see. It's funny because just the other day, you see ogurumas usually are failed haragoshi, like you said.
Yeah, that's what they are. It's like, oh shit, I got to change it into something else real quick.
Or a white belt trying to do it in randori for first haragoshi and randori for first time. But interestingly, the other day I had a dream that I did an oguruma into a kani basami. I'm like, that's actually a pretty good combination.
Holy shit. That would be, what are you flying? You got wires attached to you back in Hong Kong? What?
You're doing it fails, and all you have to do is jump up and then swing your leg around the other side. And
so you're going to see in John Wick 3. No, John Wick 4 probably.
They should do that in the next movie. But to go back to the question that the commentator, the guy Ronaldo had was, I think we're focusing a little too much on the physical aspect of it, but ignoring all the mutual benefit and maximum efficiency kind of judo principles. I think what he's asking is like, how is judo any different from like wrestling and all that stuff when you remove the gi? Basically, that's essentially what he's asking. I feel like, and I feel like a lot of people get like, in the end, there's only so many ways you can
take someone
manipulate the human body, right?
Yeah.
So I think what separates judo from the other grappling arts is the concept of kazushi, right? And it goes much deeper into off balancing. Like, when they teach beginners like, oh, kazushi, you got to generate kazushi and off balance people. But I personally like to use the word structural weakness for kazushi when people ask me about it. And it's always there. Like your human body is never, ever perfectly balanced. It might be like when you're even when you're standing straight up, like you might be perfectly balanced, but if someone pushed you, you'd still fall backwards and you'd have that imbalance for the split second, right? So I think that is what separates judo away apart from wrestling stuff, because I don't think you're a wrestler, right? So have they ever actually taught you any of that stuff, or you just kind of like grind until you get a sense for it? Versus judo is trying to it's like systemized into training you into getting a feel for this kazushi, right?
Well, in my opinion, growing up as a wrestler and then going into judo, and we had some guys that would, when we would do Greco wrestling, they would say, do this like judo, do it like judo, use that leg like judo guys do. But they didn't know why a judo guy would use his legs. So for me, once I started doing judo, it was more the efficiency of judo. It was literally a thing of like work smarter, not harder.
Yeah, because wrestling is the opposite. It's work harder, not smarter. It's just like, this works. Let me just go harder at it. Right? Yeah,
just grind it out. You force that takedown on the guy. You force that head and arm throw. You force that arm throw, like what we call ipponso nogi. You force that arm throw on the guy, or shoulder throw, depending on which style you talk about, depending where you learn from. Also, what they call the throws. It's about like forcing it. You use your muscle and strength to force a throw. Where in judo, it's not about that. It's about using technique and efficiency, and it is more efficient. Where like in growing up wrestling, we do Greco, there would be they're just a head and arm throw, okay? What we would call koshiguruma, or some people would be like, oh no, it's ogoshi, koshiguruma, haragoshi. In wrestling, it's just a head and arm throw, because that's how you get it. You just grab that head, you grab that bicep and arm, and you just pull them into you. And one of the guys would be like, and when you get stuck, just do that judo thing. Just use your leg to swing your leg out, kick that leg out. But he didn't know why you kick the leg out. You don't know why it's working. You don't know why it's happening. So in judo, you understand why. I'm pulling him off balance. He's on his toes, and now I'm swinging my leg out to finish the throw. The leg isn't doing the throw. It's finishing it. Same thing with, even you go to, what was it? Another one, like ipponso nogi, okay? A judo ipponso nogi, in my opinion, is the best shoulder throw there is, okay? If I have someone in a proper ipponso nogi, the reason their arm is inside my elbow right here is so they can't choke me out. If I'm in this position you're on my hips already, you're done for the most part. There's going to be a very small chance you're going to get out of it. But in wrestling, I'm pulling an arm almost across my neck already. And in wrestling rules, they can't choke me out, so I'm safe. Yeah, rules are safe. I'm safe right here. But in real life, if I go for that shoulder throw in real life and I get a guy and he's squirming, he can choke me out.
He'll probably, if they know what they're doing, they'll jump on your back.
Easily jump on my back. I've had our little midget in class, you know what I'm talking about. I'll play around with her sometimes, and she'll do that to me, where I'll play around on a throw with her and she'll just jump on my back, this little spider monkey sometimes.
Yeah, go ahead. Finish what you're saying.
No, it's just judo is just the more efficiency of doing these grappling arts. To me, it's just more efficiency.
Yeah. So
wrestling was just fighting, taking down, grinding it out. Judo, efficiency, work smarter, not harder. And the reason why you don't see a lot of this in MMA or BJJ or not Sambo, of course, but some of these like more open grappling systems, which I term is that there's an old judo saying, judo's a marathon. It's not a sprint. It takes time to learn these things, but once you do learn them, they are great. They're fantastic. They work amazingly. But you're not going to learn judo in 5 easy steps. It is not a 6-month program. It's just that's just how it is.
So basically, to expand on the response to that question is, I think you should look at more than the technique and what they look like, and more into the concept and how it's taught, the two. And if you have a chance, I think you should learn both and figure out yourself what the difference is. My experience with the nogi has, you definitely have more experience with nogi than me. Mine has mostly been with some people after class, and I went to a few nogi jiu-jitsu classes to spar, open mat. Like, that's the extent of my experience, but that's mainly to matches what you were saying. Like, I spar with a wrestler all the time, and this, like you said, like just strength, speed, power, and everything. And I'm focusing more on timing, combinations, and that's another thing. Like, if you look at UFC, you can tell all the judo sambo people when they do those takedowns, they come in combinations. Have you seen that? It happens a lot more. Combinations versus other people who train wrestling or like just basic like all around MMA. Yeah, they would just like go for a hip throw or haragoshi and keep trying. There's no like transitions from a harai into a ochi into kochi.
There's no setup.
There's no setup. There's none of that. Very few fakes. But if you look at like Ronda and even Valentina Shevchenko, like, you'll see a lot more of the fakes, feints, and combinations. So that's where I think judo and to a certain extent sambo and stuff differentiates from other grappling arts like wrestling.
And just to put this out there, just so if you're interested in trying this stuff out or want to look up stuff. So the basic one, the first one that you're going to learn and see from people are what we talked about. The first was wrist grab and behind the head. Okay. The second one most people are going to teach you is going to be a collar elbow grip, like in regular wrestling. The one that I like the most is an under over grip. So one arm underneath the armpit, one over the arm right there. From there, you can do a double under. So you have both arms underneath the armpit, grabbing the body. You can do a lot of throws in that position as well. One that people don't use a lot, but I've used it a few times because people don't expect it, is a double over grip.
I hate that grip.
Yeah, because people feel like they can't do nothing where they're
well, you got to be pretty bad. And you fucked up a long time ago if you got yourself in that position. So. Yeah.
So if you get a double over grip on somebody, like there's some crazy throws you can do from that position. Again, you do.
I wouldn't throw them. I'll just armbar them from there.
Ashiwazas. Well, you can totally, or actually what I like to do is get them right there and just do a Diashi Barai or Kuriashi Barai sometimes. From that position, just put them up and just slam them down the mat right there.
You really want to break that.
And the last one. No, I'm not going to break any arms. I'm just telling you can do these positions.
Yeah.
It's just people don't think about it. You can also do the traditional grab behind the body, grab the wrist also. It's tough because you're not holding on to anything. It's very slippery right there. I don't like grabbing the wrist. You grab the back, you're going to slip off the guy. You'd rather get an over grip, grabbing high up on the bicep, like I was saying before, if you're going to grab the smaller back or grab the shoulder back way far behind, if you get your arm all the way back. And the last one is a wrestling style, a wizard throw. You get a wizard on the guy, please grab the wrist. Don't leave that arm out there because that's why it's not going to work. You can try harai, uchimata, any throw you want to, but if they have that wrist out there, they can brace themselves. They might break their arm. They might not, but guess what? You're not going to get the throw.
Yeah. So
those are the main positions that I think.
So basically the second part of his question is how many techniques will be able to adapt. And you kind of answered that already, but I think ultimately you have to train like you fight. So you can't just like listen to what Juan just said and then be like, okay, now I know all these grips.
Now, I'm a black belt in judo now. I'm a black belt in nogi.
It's just like training a different throw. You know the basic, like the standard grip for it, but then after you get good enough with the basics, you have to, okay, now I'm going to do it from the armpit grip. I'm going to do it from the over the back grip, do it from the belt grip. And there's all these variations that you can do. And that's what you kind of have to explore and train in nogi to get better at it. You can't just train it once a week and expect your no-gi judo to be as good as your gi judo, right?
Yeah.
And again, different grips. You got to train those grips. It's much more slippery, obviously, and then you have to work in those combinations. And will those techniques lose some of their effectiveness? Like maybe if you tried to do it the no-gi way. Yeah, right?
I mean, well, if you don't know what you're doing, of course, it's going to lose effectiveness. The worst thing you do, and I see people do this all the time, not all the time, I see people do it. People try to do tomonagi without a gi, and it is very hard to do tomonagi without a gi. everybody sees Bruce Lee do it, Enter the Dragon, and think that everybody can do it. No, it is actually really tough. It's tough to do tomonage with a gi on. Now you're doing it without a gi. The best way to do tomonage is what they consider like a monkey throw in wrestling. And it's better, in my opinion, to get both wrists. So you got to grab both wrists to do that, to throw a guy.
Because then they can't post, Yeah,
because then they can't post arms. They can't put an arm out to try to stop it. If you got both wrists and you're controlling them, just imagine it. Yeah. So you're throwing them underneath, grabbing the wrist. That's the best way. But in my opinion, you can almost do any throw in judo. You just got to work on it.
I mean, obviously there's some throws that you can't do without the gi, like morote seoinage or just seoinage, and Yamarashi.
I'm gonna grab you by your chi. I'm gonna come in there.
Yeah, so there's obviously some throws that don't work without the gi, but I think what the throw that's most effective is the one that works for you, right? Even if I tell you Ippon Seoinage is the most effective no-gi throw, like if I'm fighting someone shorter than me because I'm 6'4", like it's probably not going to be effective for me to do it.
No.
So just find the throw that works for you and train it without the gi. So train like how you fight. And there was one more thing I wanted to say. I can't remember what it was.
Yeah. But find whatever throw works for you with your gi on already, because you already know it. And now try the variations of what I talked about of how you hold these grips and see which one works best for you. Try the lapel, try the head and arm position, try the head and wrist, try a double under, try under over, try them out and see how they. But one thing when you do these, a lot of people will forget about breaking kazushi still. Because you're so close, they think, oh, I got to break kazushi. You still got to pull them into you. You still got to break kazushi. Don't enter into them.
Judo concepts are still there, yes.
Yeah, don't enter into them. You're pulling them. Like I work with these BJJ people sometimes, a few times a week. And one of them had really good, his arms and stuff, it looked great, but he never pulled people in. He always stepped into people. I kept telling him, like, you got to pull. So I had him do the little white belt exercise I had people do where they just pop people up, step, pop them up, and just do that all across the park. And I was like, see, pull them in. And even without a gi, you still got to pull them in.
That's where I think judo has that, the just moving around the flow kind of drill where you're just getting a feel for how people are off balancing and the timing and everything. You don't really see that in wrestling. You're just sparring. You're just constantly throwing. Yeah.
Snapping a guy's head down. He comes back up. You pop in for a single or double.
That works if you're really athletic. And I think athletic and you get stuff by doing. But I think the approach that judo has, which is just like the flow type of movement, kind of helps a lot less coordinated and beginners and kids and stuff, which kind of is what judo is for. Yeah, just judo's teaching system and curriculum and syllabus is just better for that, I think, for everyone.
No, I feel you on that.
Not just the most athletic people, because when you say wrestling, I just think of like really athletic, strong, fast people. I know it's more than that, but
yeah, no, I see it from the outside. You look in, that's what you see. Especially if you watch a lot of MMA, you see the MMA wrestlers and how they fight and how they grind people out. It's like, oh, is that what wrestling is? That sucks, and it does when you're on the mat just being grinded on, or you're grinding on the other person.
Maybe when the dojos reopen, we should do some no-gi stuff videos, since he's implying that there's only a few people out there. I haven't really looked, but
that was my plan. I got a little sub thing right here, subreddit. My plan last year was to start putting it. I did a few no-gi videos. And I put them out a few years ago, but they came out. I didn't like the way they looked because I didn't have a partner. I just threw in the throwing dummy. So I deleted them. I was like, people they're like, he's throwing a throwing dummy. Of course he's not working on a throwing dummy. That looks terrible. But maybe when Anthony's good, I can start throwing him again.
Oh, I remember what I was going to say. So in one of the tournaments, I actually broke this finger. I don't know if you see it. I broke this finger, popped it back in place. It can't straighten it anymore. But I couldn't get a grip for a sasai. And I think I was fighting Kenkaiutsu. So at the time, my knee was still messed up. So I couldn't do most of the left side throws. So I used a no-gi grip. I just underhooked them and threw them. So that's an application. And so that was my short story on using no-gi in a gi tournament fight.
No, it works sometimes. But back to the subreddit, it's like, I plan to make I was going to redo my YouTube channel about nogi judo. That I was going to call it real judo and stuff, like how to really use judo. And hopefully this year when the dojo reopens, or if I'm allowed to come to Anthony's house, I'll throw him one day and make some YouTube videos for you guys showing these grips and how to do it.
We should do that. Start our California
test out
judo
that
system.
knee.
California
right.
judo system.
California judo, Southern California judo system. First, you gotta get a palm tree. All right, you gotta live by the beach.
Tie a belt around the palm tree and just do uchikomis.
Tie a belt around, just do uchikomis.
But
all right. So if anybody has any more questions, what
I did get a message from
another one.
I think Christian. No, like he okay. I think he has both wrestling and judo experience. So it'll be cool if we kind of revisit this topic if we bring him on to the podcast next time. But yeah, this is cool. All I want to say.
All right. So again, like if anybody has any questions about nogi stuff or some judo techniques, just shoot them at us. We'll talk about it, give us suggestions, and just talk about our experiences. That's all you can do. Talk about what works for me, might work for you, what works for Anthony might work for you. All right. So Anthony, what's the next topic we're going to talk about?
The All Japan Judo. Kodokan Cup, I think it was the Open Championships. Yeah.
Yeah, he's definitely Open Championships. You see the size of some of those guys?
Yo,
holy crap.
Yeah, that was crazy.
There was some matches there that I was like, that is not legal. This is pride. All right. There's a pride shoot fight right here.
If you like rooting for the underdogs, this is like the tournament to watch, because you see these small girls and small guys fighting these humongous people, and
it shows the whole thing like judo works for everybody, no matter what size it is. But there were I can't remember who it was did it, but someone attempted, I think, a drop sonagi or like a really small Tatatoshi, and the guy just was like nope, pulled him back and flipped him on. No technique, just laid him on his back, and I was like, oh no.
Yeah, so I'll put it in the description, but the All Japan Judo Championships, this is it's open weight. They have a YouTube channel and they uploaded every single match, like separated, not like an IGF. It's just like final block and round one. So you can watch it match by match. They tell you who the athletes are. It's so well produced. I try to watch it live, but I think only the first couple hours was broadcasted. And then I think the live broadcast in the Japanese TV stations happened. So they cut off the stream. But a few days later, they uploaded everything sorted out. So the production value is great.
Because I know when I first saw it, I just saw highlights on Instagram pretty much because I couldn't find it. And then you sent me a link that has all the highlights. But then the highlights is like, unless you know the players personally or you recognize their faces, it's tough because it's old school Japanese rules. Everyone's wearing a white gi. All right. They're all Japanese. There's one red belt on one guy. And you're just like, oh, and I was like, I understand why we have blue and white gis now. But not now, but
this fiasco that happened with the refereeing, but
yeah, it was like crazy because it was just moving hard, moving fast. Oh my God. I can't remember who it was, but there's this the guy came in for, it was a smaller guy, smaller player against one of the bigger players. Came in for no, it was for the Kosotogari.
Oh, are you talking about Nagasawa?
Was it Nagasawa? Again, all the names are in Japanese, the one that I saw. So I couldn't remember who everyone's name was. You told me now their names are in English up there, so you actually know who it is.
Yeah.
So he came in for Kosotogari. The other bigger guy tried to step out of it, and he just moved his body some fucking magical way and came in for this Tayatoshi looking thing. I thought it was Tayatoshi. The announcers in Japanese were saying it was.
Oh, the one where he did a whipping motion into a drop really low Tayatoshi, right? Was that one?
Yeah, something like that. And I thought it was Tayatoshi. The announcer was trying to say it was Hayagoshi. And I was just like, I don't know what it was, but that was amazing because he threw the guy. He threw him for Wazadi for it. But I think he still lost the match though, didn't he?
Yeah, I think ultimately lost. I don't know. I don't remember.
Yeah,
I watched too many matches. Because there's a women's too. It's not just the men's. There's women's.
Yeah.
So, unless you're really into judo and watching the strategy behind it, even I couldn't watch the whole thing. I would just watch the highlights because most of them was just the big guy bullying the small guy, and the small guy is just waiting for the right opportunity to throw and getting them moving, and they would usually get Shidoed for it, right? But so there's a lot of that happening, but there's some gems in there. So I would just watch the highlights unless you have certain athletes you want to watch. But yeah, the side is for me. It was interesting watching how they dealt with the size difference and weight difference. But it gets boring after a while because they're all doing the same thing. Like the big guys pushing them down, stiff arming them, pushing them into the corner of the mat, trying to get them to limit their movement and get them to step out and get a Shido for stepping out and all that stuff. So there's a lot of that happening. But
there's some good throws. Like there was a beautiful, I can't remember who it was again, because I don't remember all the Japanese names. I can't read a kanji, sorry. But there was one Ippon So Nagi, and I can't remember if there was similar size. I think there was similar size guys, but there was one guy who just came as Ippon So Nagi, and it was like a fucking mountain crushing. It was amazing. Like they were just like, to me, I just saw some beautiful techniques, some really fun stuff to watch. Great techniques. But I couldn't know who I was watching because it's all in Japanese. And because I speak a little bit of Japanese, I could understand the commentary a little bit. But you know how it is when you watch Japanese commentary. They're going so fast, so rapid. And it's just like, what move is that? I got that. Taitoshi, I got that.
So maybe some of the listeners might know this, or maybe you might know this. I noticed when I was watching the Japanese stream, they had like a Yuko score there.
Yes. That was another thing I wanted to talk about. So they're doing there was like old school Japanese. There's no leg locks, but there's two things I noticed that kind of confused me. So everybody's, of course, it's this one mat, very traditional looking. People surround the mat watching it. They're both wearing white gis. One's wearing a red belt. The other one's wearing their normal black belt and stuff. So it's the black belt with the red belt on top of it. Old school. They were giving out yukos, wazaris, ippons and stuff. Like
you can see on the scoreboard, there's 3 scores. Yeah.
And I was because it would throw people and be like, oh, wazari. And out here, yuko's like, did they just say yuko?
Yeah, but
and then I looked up like, yeah, that's Yuko.
Their Ippon standards aren't as high as I thought it would be, though. It seems very similar to the current IJF Ippon standards. But yeah, like I don't know. Maybe someone can tell us the rules. It'll be cool if they have leg wrap tournaments. But
and that's the other thing I noticed also. There was one beautiful clock choke a guy did.
Oh, yeah,
and
I saw that one.
Barely on the ground. The guy was like not even all fours. He was just on his toes and hands, and he went for this clock choke.
Oh, so they let the standing choke happen.
Kind of, because he was barely on his toes and fingertips. He went for the clock choke and he grabbed, he did just his body. He grabbed the cross to grab the leg, put his hip into it and choked him out. And I was like, hey, I got called for that last year at Winter Nationals. How's this guy getting to do that? I should have took first then.
Well, once you should marry, you're married to your wife, you should get that Japanese citizenship and go compete in that.
If I ever go to Japan and we go visit our Sensei Moss, I want to go to that dojo that he went with Richard, where they had all the security guards and the police officers and stuff. No. The one he went with it was just him and Moss went.
Oh, that one. Yeah. The one with the corporate sponsors and everything. I'm so sad I didn't get to go because I had food poisoning, but
I want to go to that place and just test my metal, just see how it goes, you know?
Just make sure you get
insurance.
Yeah. It's funny because I think I listened to the podcast. I forgot to tell them that. But I listened to Dave Roman's podcast, and a guy who lives and teaches in Japan was like, "Oh, you need the National Federation's insurance. You got to show you have membership so that your insurance will cover it." And I'm like, I'm pretty sure they don't cover it. Like USA Judo does not cover your injury from abroad, like training in some place. And I actually had to buy travel insurance. It was like $80 for like a month, and yeah, they would cover it. And it's funny because they said the loss of my finger is actually worth like half of the amount of me losing my life. So,
thanks, guys.
But
that's what I would do if I was going to Japan. I would get traveler's insurance and be like, "Oh, I need to go to the hospital.
Yeah,
what happened to your arm, sir? I tripped and fell."
Nobody asked for my insurance, including Kodokan. No one asked for it. Only place that asked for it was the embassy dojo. The U.S. embassy.
And when you're there traveling, I'm going off topic now, but when you're there traveling, did you have because I know when you come to the US, we do this, and I'm sorry about we have to do this because of insurance reasons, but if you're from a visitor from another country, you come to the US and want to train at a dojo, you have to buy either USJF, USJA, or USA Judo membership for insurance reasons. If you got to get like the 1 month or 3 week, 3 months program, I'm sorry, you have to do that. But in the US, we have to do that. When you're in Japan, did you have to do that at all?
No. I paid the equivalent. Well, the US Embassy dojo was like, they charged like $30 for us to go train there. Well worth it, by the way. But Yeah, the guy who teaches there, Lance Gatling. Very interesting, but yeah.
And Gatling gun.
Go back to our previous episode about training in Japan if you want to hear more about that. But
if $30 is too much for you, when I went back home to San Jose one time, I trained at a dojo in Santa Clara. It's funny because it's a place I used to go. I didn't go to this dojo, but I used to go do laundry by this dojo as a kid all the time. And that used to be a dental place before, but now it's a judo club. When I went there just to do the open mat, it was like $20 or $25. And I was like, what the hell?
No, like the price I paid ranged from free to $4.
Except for America, because you're 30.
Yeah, the American dojo, the smallest one, by the way, charged me $30. But yeah, everywhere else was like ranging from free to like $4. The Kodokan was $5, I think, but everywhere else I went was like $4 or $5. So
can't wait to do that when the stuff's all over and travel back to Japan.
Unless you have something else to talk about or something I just thought of.
All right. So are we done talking about the Open? Any matches you want to talk about? Go watch
it. I'm not going to spoil who won, but
you're not going to spoil who won. Okay. So cover yours, Anthony. So I'm going to tell you who won right now. No, I'm not going to tell you. I'm not going to do that to you. It was a great tournament though. Highlights were amazing, crazy techniques. You did see a lot of bullying from the big guys, but there was some like beautiful just throws, some crazy stuff. I encourage everybody to watch it. It really gets you going. You really want to train afterwards watching that. You're just like, I want to go find a giant to try to throw them.
Yeah. So what I was going to talk about was, did you hear about this? USJF now requires you to get CPR training in addition to everything to get your knee done.
CPR
not for
training.
Coaching. You need CPR, concussion training, and all that kind of stuff to get your knee done.
To get your knee done.
Yeah. Through USJF. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but I thought everyone was bleeding. Before COVID, everyone was bleeding numbers to USA Judo already, just because mostly due to the, let's just say, response time and paperwork required for many things.
A lot of stuff lost in the mail.
Yeah, but it seems like now you need CPR and first aid for knee done and above. So,
well, here's a little story.
That's a really good idea when you're bleeding numbers already, especially now, like with COVID.
Yeah.
But.
Well, I'm not going to say I'm surprised by this because USJF, I like USJF for the most part, but they seem to always keep putting barriers or hills or mountains, or whatever your analogy you like to do, in front of getting your black belt for some reason.
You told me a story of them changing the requirements on you.
I'm gonna tell you that right now. Let's go way back. Let's go way back when Juan was a brown belt. All right. So the year I was gonna get my black belt, I had all my points I had all my competition points and stuff ready. And I was going through the requirements, which everybody should do. Once you get your brown belt, you need to start going on whatever federation you're part of and look at the requirements. I know Anthony doesn't like that, but I do, so you don't get screwed over. All right. And this is why.
Because they changed them.
Exactly. This is why. So the year I'm going to get my brown belt, it was about like maybe September or November. I was trying to get my stuff done. So I was doing my katas. All right. And for back then, it was that if you were a competition, if you're going to send in your competition points and register as a black belt as a competition black belt, the Nagi no kata, you only had to do the first 3 sets of Nagi no kata. You didn't have to get it certified or get a certificate. All you had to do is get your sensei to approve it, saying you did it, or get it done at a competition. Because some people don't have sensei. There's some weird ronins out there that don't train at real gyms, the real dojos. So you had to do that, and that was pretty much it. You had competition points, your kata, and that was it. Okay. Then right before we're going to mail in our stuff, right before we're going to send it out there, it was like, halt, no, sorry guys, something's changed. Now you have to do the entire kata. It must get certified or done at a tournament. And now you have to get a background check done and a coaching certificate. And it wasn't just like little stuff. It was like, this is a big thing they just added out of nowhere. The background check might have been already in there. I don't remember exactly, but I know that the full kata was changed and the coaching certificate was changed. That you had to become a certified reffing. So I had to become a certified ref, had to do the entire kata, had to get my background check. Also had to turn in my points as well, since I was doing it as a competition guy, which was pointless at this point. To get my shodan from USJF. And then I think they changed it after that when we were doing it for some other people later, that you had to do all that stuff also. But I think getting a coaching certificate on top of the reffing one, the coaching was recommended, but it wasn't required, which I don't understand what the point is between recommended and required.
Some people on, well, recommend is just like, we recommend you give us money is what they're saying. But some people are saying like, which I kind of agree, like the black belt should not be, at least Shodan and Nidan should not be associated with coaching or instructing.
Well, the thing is that
you could be a Shodan but not be able to be a good teacher, which I totally agree.
Of course. Yeah. Of course. You could be a great competition player, but not be a terrible coach, be a terrible instructor. But the thing is just, I think that there's just so many few black belts out there, or good black belts. Personally, there's so many good black belts out there that we need black belts and we need coaches. So it's like, okay, well, he's a black belt. Let him start teaching class. Oh, he's a black belt. Well, let him open up a community center class somewhere because we need it.
Didn't USJF recently come out with like their 5 levels or 5-star whatever coaching certificate like thing like this? You're qualified to teach.
No, I know
kind of thing.
I know what you're talking about. I know what you're talking about exactly. I know exactly what you're talking about, but I can't remember.
If you have that, why do you require all this other stuff for your Nidan and Shodan and stuff? It just does not make sense.
Well, I think because it has to go also with just it's a whole weird thing of like, you're a black belt now. So, I'm a black belt. Call me sensei. I'm a black belt now, so I know all this stuff, so I can open a class or open up a dojo. Or you're a black belt now. Oh, okay, so Anthony, you're a black belt now. Can you take Tuesday's class now? You know, it's one of those things where it's just in case, I guess.
That's another reason I don't like it, because you'll see so many people get their black belt and just disappear.
They get their black belt, they disappear.
Or they'd be like, I want my black belt now so I can like open my own dojo and stuff like that, when I think it should be a totally separate distinction. So, well,
it kind of is, because I know, talking to one of the head senseis here in Los Angeles, he says that if you're a head sensei at a dojo, you need to be a 5th dan or higher. You need to be a minimum of 5th dan. Mm-hmm. And that was his thing. And I don't know if that's a national thing or just a personal issue.
It's not. Like, my old sensei started his own club in Austin as a Shodan. So, but there's no judo in the area. But that's why we need more people like that starting their own time. His name is Glenn, by the way, in Austin.
Hi, Glenn in Austin.
Yeah, he's great sensei. Even though he's Shodan, like he's great instructor. And I mean, when I first came to your dojo, to Hollywood Judo, like first thing Sensei Gary said was like, "You have really good waza." I'm like, "Yeah," and I told Glenn, I'm like, "It's because of you teaching me all the great basics and stuff, right?" And he just had a Shodan, and he just loves judo so much. He drives an hour after work to the community center, which he had to talk to get it all set up and stuff. Mm-hmm. And then he would by himself set up the mats before class started. Mm-hmm. Eventually, as more people joined, like we help him set up the mats if we're able to. But he would just set up the mats and then teach judo and then put them back and then go home late with a family and kids. So I'm not saying we should do more of that, but we should have these tools available for people to do stuff like that if they're able to and if they want to, versus putting up barriers is what I'm saying.
Yeah. Well,
starting a dojo is something like that expensive already.
There should be a grant situation. I don't know if there is or might not be. I don't know, but there should be a grant thing that USJF, USA Judo, USJA should do that. Like if you're in a struggling dojo or struggling gym, that they help you out. And it goes to the whole thing about advertising for judo, buying mats for people, helping them out with locations and stuff, especially right now when people can't even afford rent. Yeah. And a lot of people are just doing Zoom judo classes or judo in the park, like what I'm doing with some of my friends in Los Angeles in a lockdown. I'm not supposed to.
I was reading some of I think it was a Canadian Judo Federation site. They have like a mat loan program if you want to start your own club. And obviously it's not permanent. Like I'm sure there's some strings attached, but I'm thinking like, what about the mats they use for tournaments we have right now? Like when you're not holding a tournament, why do you need those mats? Like,
well, for Nanka, they're stored inside storage containers, those big giant ones. And I think they're just left at, I'm not going to say what high school they're at.
High school, yeah.
Yeah, they're just stored at the high school we do our tournaments at. And yeah, they're just left there once a year. And it's also because Goltz, when he does the Winter Nationals, he has 6 sets of mats out there. I always wondered, where does he store those things? Where does he put them at? Because I know they're not at his community center.
If it's just once a year, they might as well just use that to help dojo start and be like, whether it's, hey, you can borrow this for 3 months or 2 months or whatever, or either that or I don't know, just make it work, you know?
Yeah, but USJF, it seems like they keep putting barriers in front of it, and that might be one of the reasons why people are leaving. It's one of those things like, oh, it's like a restaurant, you know, oh, we're losing money, so raise the price of the food then. Oh, well, the food's going to get so expensive, no one wants to eat there. Oh, well, if no one's eating there, we're going to raise the price more to support us. And it kind of seems like one of those things. We're losing members to USJA. We're losing members to USA Judo.
Well, they're all losing. You heard about how their revenues dropped between 85 to 90%.
Yeah. Right? Well, did you get the email? I got the email and the Instagram message. I got 2 actually.
Did you get a phone call
from? No, I didn't get a phone call. You got a phone call?
Well, I was about to go in the supermarket. I'm like, hey, who's this? And then they're like, oh, I'm calling from USA Judo. I'm like, oh shit, did I say something on the podcast?
Oh shit, they're coming for me. It was all Juan's fault.
That was my first reaction.
Made me do it.
I'll never know. But now that after I got that email, I was like, oh, that's probably what they're calling about. Because I'm not going to get into, I guess, the politics, but if you believe in what they're doing, you should renew your membership is all I'm going to say. So and you can afford it.
I get it. People want to save money right now. We're not training the dojo. So it's like, I'm trying to save money to expenses. I know I kind of got screwed over because to do to get my coaching for the dojo and stuff so they can register. Yeah. I had to get a background check done this year again. And USJF said, well, Mr. Rodriguez, if you're not a member of the federation right now, we can do your background check for you. And I was like, oh, you got me. So I had to renew.
I didn't renew.
So I had to renew to get my background check done. But the thing I was talking about is that, did you actually get the email and message from USJA about sponsoring somebody to get their membership done?
No, I did not get. I got an email from them asking.
No idea how. I don't know how the hell they're going to do it, but there's a thing right now where people are going through hard times. I believe that. I know that. I see it around me. Would you like to sponsor somebody? So it's like, so am I just going to give USJA $70 randomly? And are they really going to sponsor? Is somebody going to get their card in the mail being like a lottery? Someone's going to get their card in the mail or something?
Okay, or am I just giving my money to support them? I wasn't going to say anything, but essentially, I personally think the membership is useless, right? I went through an insurance claim and all that stuff. It's practically useless.
Yeah.
And so giving them money for donations, if you believe in what they're doing, is essentially the same thing as signing up for a membership yourself. It makes no difference. So I don't think it matters whether it's lottery or whether they don't even give it to anyone. You're just giving money to the federation for the upkeep and administrative costs and funding athletes that they sponsor. That's essentially that's all they do. But for me as a member, I personally get nothing out of it. I'm just, my dojo requires it. So I train and I'm not training.
Hey, don't pull it all on us all of a sudden. You're mad at me.
But I mean, I'm essentially sponsoring my BJJ club right now. I've been paying 120, 110, something like that a month for the last year. And I haven't trained in a year already. And
I'm going to put that out there. I want people to know that Anthony has been paying for his BJJ school for over a year since he got a knee injury. During the COVID outbreak right now, he can't train. He can't go do anything but go watch. And he's still paying. And we have people out there that want to train that don't want to pay nothing and don't want to help out. This is how good of a person Anthony is. That he's paying for his BJJ school, but he can't help out his judo school. He can't help out.
Hey, I'll help. I'll help at my judo school, but I just want to renew my judo membership. So
that's what we judo. Like, we canceled everybody's auto pay. Everyone else trying to pay us. So we said, no, if we're not open, you're not training, we're not going to take your money. That's just how we were. We canceled all that stuff. So it's sad to say, but we're just running on what we have in our savings as a judo dojo. But that's nice that Anthony's paying for his BJJ club. That's great. I wish we got some donation for judo sometimes.
Well, I can restart my membership for the we can talk about it later. But I know I help out with I help out with the kids class, so I don't have to pay, but I'm not helping out now. So
Nah, don't worry about it. I'm just giving you some shit right now.
Yeah.
All right, Anthony. So is there anything else you want to talk about? Anything else you want to discuss?
No, hopefully we don't get some calls after this. So
someone comes after us. Hey, you want to come anytime? Come to Hollywood Judo anytime. Come to Matt. I love it.
But yeah, seriously, if you can afford it and you like what your federation was doing for your community, your judo community, and your whatever, and you believe in it, then continue to pay your dues. Even I think one of the emails I got was, even if it's $1, it helps. So it adds up. So you can't afford full membership, consider just throwing a few bucks there, and drink a few less beers, and
act like you're cutting weight and just don't eat one meal and donate that to them. Okay. Act like you're going to nationals or something, which lets know, who knows, we're gonna have a nationals this year if we're still going to Reno or not.
Well, the vaccine's coming, so
if we get it, I'm not old, neither are you. Who knows if we're gonna get the vaccine? All right,
we're getting there.
Me and Anthony, we're actually gonna sneak into a hospital and get the vaccine.
I don't think they can start a hospital right now.
Damn it. Are you guys nurses? Totally. Yeah. We're two orderlies.
Okay. That's all I have.
All right, guys. Please like, share, and subscribe. You like what we did, please join us again next time. Send us an email. Leave us a comment. As you saw today, we actually answered a question. If you want to follow me on Instagram, you can follow the GRA_Juan. You can follow Anthony at Anthony Throws. Anything else, Anthony?
No, we're good.
No, that's it. All right. Peace out.
Peace out.